They say building a phone is the hardest thing in tech. Not because the hardware is merely complex, it is. But because a phone is not just circuits and glass. A phone is a promise of design, a promise of ecosystem, a promise of service, and a promise that the tiny things will keep working for years. So when John Sculley, the man who once helped run Apple through one of its most consequential eras, decided to launch a new phone company, the world leaned in. John Sculley's name is already part of technology lore. A marketer turned CEO, he helped scale Apple during its early consumer boom. Decades later, with a career that included both triumphs and controversies, he returned to the mobile world with a surprisingly simple thesis. People in emerging markets deserve devices that feel premium, but at accessible prices. Out of that thesis came Obi Worldphone, a product that promised Silicon Valley taste and a value price tag. The pitch was magnetic. Imagine a phone that didn't feel cheap. Solid materials, considered design, cleaner software, yet targeted at buyers in Indonesia, India, Brazil, and other rapidly growing markets. For Sculley and his partners, the opportunity was twofold. A huge market hungry for better devices, and a chance to show that design thinking could win even at lower price points. But here's the brutal truth that Obi's story illustrates. Great design alone doesn't solve the industrial problems of smartphones. The moment you move from concept to production, you enter an arena where margins are blunt instruments, logistics are a kingmaker, and distribution channels will set the limits on your dreams. Obi's early days were textbook startup theater, announcements, prototype showcases, press buzz, and a roster of investors and partners who believed a design-first phone could disrupt the low-cost segment. And yet, the first real test of a hardware startup is not press attention. It's supply chain discipline. Sourcing components at scale requires relationships and volume commitments. You negotiate for price per chip, for display yields, for shipping windows, and for quality control that can stand up to months of use in environments that range from humid equatorial cities to dusty rural roads. Every percentage point of yield you lose is money eaten from an already thin margin. Then there's distribution, the part many product people underestimate. Who will stock your phones? In developed markets, carriers have long been gatekeepers, and retail giants take a cut that must be factored into pricing. In emerging markets, informal channels, small retailers, and cash-preferred customers complicate the math. Obi aimed to combine online sales, retail partners, and localized marketing. But every market behaves differently, and every channel requires its own playbook. Customer support and software updates are the quiet killers. A single issue fixed slowly can cost you a local reputation that's hard to reclaim. For a phone brand, long-term trust depends on consistent updates and reliable repairs. Without those, even beautiful hardware becomes a one-season novelty. Obi's story didn't fail because it lacked ambition. It failed because hardware success demands simultaneous mastery of design, operations, and distribution. And because the incumbent pressure is enormous. Global giants cut prices, local rivals copy features, and thin-strapped startups are squeezed. After the launch period and initial sales cycles, Obi had to confront real economics, margins, returns, marketing spend, and the cost of building service networks. What are the concrete lessons from Obi Worldphone and from Sculley's attempt? Lesson 1. Design is a differentiator, not a substitute for operations. You can make a gorgeous device, but if the device can't reach users reliably, or if servicing it is expensive, the design advantage will not be enough. Lesson 2. Localization is strategic, not tactical. Emerging markets are not homogeneous. Payment preferences, carrier behaviors, retail networks, and even expectations about repair vary widely. Successful entrants pick a narrow market and win it before attempting to scale broadly. Lesson 3. Start small, validate unit economics, then scale. That means building a realistic model that includes returns, warranty costs, marketing, distribution fees, and support overhead. Hardware is unforgiving when your per-unit margins are thin. Lesson 4. Partnerships matter deeply. You need manufacturing partners who can prove yields, logistics partners who can meet lead times, and local distributors who understand the customer. Weak links anywhere break the chain. And there's a softer lesson about leadership. A product leader at Apple is not automatically a hardware CEO for a global consumer brand. The skills overlap: product judgment, design obsession. But running a phone company is heavily operational. It's about negotiation, contingency plans, and long, gritty execution. Still, the Obi episode is not just a cautionary tale, it's also inspiring. It shows the audacity of leaders who refuse to let past success be the final chapter. Sculley bet that design could be a lever to uplift usage experiences in markets often sold cheap hardware. That ambition matters. It pushes incumbents, forces conversations about quality and price, and seeds new ideas for how hardware can be built differently. In the modern context, we're starting to see variants of this playbook work. But with critical adjustments. New entrants launch smaller initial runs, invest more in direct channels, and design narrow value propositions. Privacy-first phones, ultra-durable devices for specific industries, or regionally optimized smartphones. They accept slower scale and higher unit economics until they prove a sustainable model. For founders watching Obi's arc, the message is clear. If you dream of building hardware, be humble about the industrial realities. Learn to love the spreadsheet as much as the sketch. Hire operations talent early. Lock in manufacturing commitments and understand the math of returns. Build distribution strategies that match local consumer behavior, not your assumptions. John Sculley's experiment with Obi Worldphone taught a generation a valuable lesson. Vision without industrial grounding rarely survives the first scaling inflection. But vision with the right operational muscle, that's when a product becomes a platform and a device becomes part of daily life. So if you're building a phone company, treat it like building an airline. Meticulous planning, contingency plans, and the willingness to manage millions of small details. Start by proving the unit economics on a small batch. Win one market, then repeat. Tell me in the comments, would you buy a phone built by a former Apple executive? Which lesson surprised you most? Because building phones is equal parts craft and commerce. Nail both, and you may change the world. Miss one, and the dream can end with a warehouse full of returned units.